Good evening. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We will start with the invocation led by Councilmember Testerman, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Thomas. Please rise as you're able.
We thank you for another day to recognize our blessings, our opportunities, our challenges. Thank you for allowing us to be involved in meaningful work and for the honor of serving those who call this great city of Knoxville home. As we gather today, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to lift up our fellow citizens, our community, and those who are lost, broken, or experiencing one of life's many hurdles, that they may find help and guidance. Give us wisdom and strength to govern thoughtfully and intentionally to determine the best solutions and outcomes. Encourage us to bring our mind, body, and hearts together to look beyond ourselves with the vision of building for the future, unafraid of hopes and dreams, and dedicated to a greater purpose. May we be challenged to give our best and be assured of your presence and peace with us always. Amen.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, would you please call roll?
Councilwoman Fugit.
Here.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Here.
Councilwoman Parker.
Here.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Here.
Vice Mayor Roberto.
Here.
Councilwoman Singh.
Here.
Councilman Smith.
Here.
Councilman Testerman. And Councilman Thomas. All members present.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion on the minutes from April 4th?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any items to be withdrawn? Are there any items to be postponed? Are there any items requested to be added by motion? Is there a motion on the consent item?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So I'm going to, time now for the mayor's report. I want to share with you that many of you are aware, but yesterday we had some tense moments in our city. Shortly after noon, the Knoxville Fire Department responded to a brush fire that was threatening homes near University Park Apartments. And while they were still on that scene, we received another call of 2 men trapped in a trench collapse. 30 firefighters responded to the scene to find one of the men was buried up to his waist, and firefighters medically treated the men while also removing rocks and soil with help from our public service crews and KUB. This took some time. It's very, I was able to go see the site, and it's a very precarious and technical situation that you have to do diligently or else you could cause further injury. So I was very, very grateful for all the training that our firefighters do. And after nearly 5 hours, the firefighters were able to free both men. And so I want to thank Chief Sharp and the men and women of the fire department who worked tirelessly to save the 2 workers, and also the members of the public service and KUB who assisted in this big time of need. So are there any firefighters or public service workers or KUB workers here? I know a lot of them were on their 3rd day of 24-hour shifts, so I don't think any of them could join us this evening, but the family members of those 2 men whose lives were threatened were very grateful, as you can imagine, for all the training that we put in. And they asked at that time, they were like, do you do this all the time? And they said, no, thankfully we don't have to do it often, but we train often because when you need that training, and it saved lives. So thank you. Thank you very much. So next week, a week from tomorrow, I'll be unveiling my proposed 2023-2024 budget at the State of the City Luncheon in Western Heights. We will be celebrating the Transforming Western project and other great spaces in our city, as well as those who help create and maintain them. So unlike years past, there will be no paper invitations, but all the information about the event can be found on our social media channels as well as the web URL knoxvilletn.gov/budget. Please RSVP by this Friday. I look forward to seeing you all there. There's another event coming up that's a Knoxville favorite. The Rossini Festival kicks off this Saturday at 10 a.m. This 11-hour free street fair will have entertainment on 4 outdoor stages, food vendors, and more than 75 artisans will be on hand. There will also be a children's fun zone. The festival will be spread out over several downtown streets, including part of Gay Street and Market Street, so plan ahead when coming downtown this weekend. Thank you to everyone who works to help make this event possible. Again, Rossini Festival begins 10 a.m. Saturday and runs through 9 o'clock at night. And finally, a quick reminder of our rules of decorum. Those who wish to speak either to a specific agenda item or during public forum should sign up with the city recorder, Mr. Johnson, ahead of time. Please do not use profanity, and when speaking to specific agenda items, please remember to stay on topic. Those who fail to adhere to these rules may be ruled out of order and asked to step away from the podium. For those who are listening, please know that you may not disrupt a public meeting from the audience. Those who do may be asked to leave. Thank you in advance for everyone's respect for these rules. And that concludes my mayor's report. Are the reports of council members? Vice Mayor Roberto.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to let everybody know that's here and who may be listening at home that a bill that we've all been paying a lot of attention to in the House and in the Senate was voted on the other evening. That was SB 526. I'm very sorry to report that that passed the Senate with an amendment that would make it not be effective immediately, but be effective in 2024. You know, this is something that Council had a special called meeting on, and we passed a unanimous resolution asking for home rule to be respected. And we have a mechanism for dealing with changes to our election system. It's called a referendum. And basically what we saw happen was the choice of the people of Knoxville that they've enjoyed for how to vote for over 50 years was taken away from them the other evening. And this is disenfranchising people here in Knoxville and our voters, and I'm very sorry to report that. I did see, Mayor, that Fiona McAnally is here, and I don't know if it would be okay if she gave us an update on where the bill is and where it's going from here. But I did think that would be something that Council would be very interested in hearing.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Fiona, you're welcome to come up. I believe the answer is that it's going to be voted on in the House, we expect tomorrow. Ms. McAnally, if you have any clarification.
Hi, Fiona McAnally, Director of Legislative Affairs. Yes, the bill needs to go back to the House so they can concur on the amendment that the Senate placed on the bill, and at that point it will be passed by both houses. So that's the position of the bill at this point.
Okay, thank you very much. And I would just say that, you know, I hope we're making preparations to deal with this and seek judicial relief as necessary, but all options should be on the table to protect home rule in Knoxville and across the city, across the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Parker?
Thank you, Mayor. I have two announcements. One announcement is that the Women and Shore Foundation have created a new funding opportunity and wanted to let the community know. Funding opportunity for Black entrepreneurs. Applications are due April 30th, and you can find the application on their websites. And then there will be a pitch competition on June 19th at 6 p.m. You can find that information online as well, and the community is invited to that competition. And then wanted to send some traveling mercies to Deidre Harper, who's attending a convening in St. Petersburg, Florida this week to learn about some innovative, out-of-the-box strategies that can be implemented here in the city of Knoxville to help improve our minority participation with the city of Knoxville in our contracting process. So wanted to send her some traveling mercies and thank her for that good work and to let y'all know about that pitch competition. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith?
Thank you, Mayor. The South Knoxville Community Cleanup is once a year, and that's this Saturday from 9 to noon at Mary Vestal Park. It's not too late to register, so you can just show up at the park. or register online at keepknoxvillebeautiful.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Thomas.
Yes, just briefly, I would like to underline what my colleague beside me, Mr. Roberto, said about the recent legislation in Nashville. That's a infringement upon our home rule. I particularly disappointed in the reasons that they gave. I think they were absolutely bogus. And for them to be trying to dictate to us about how to increase racial equality and racial participation in government is hypocritical, to say the least. I think their time would be much better served looking at their own practices. And this is a challenge to all citizens of Knoxville about how we actually are able to govern ourselves. So I appreciate the efforts of Mr. Roberto. I appreciate all my colleagues who voted for the resolution opposing this. And I hope that we can still make efforts to prevent this injustice from happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Just as a point of information for members who may be of the public watching, regardless of the vote tomorrow, this year's election will not be changed. So there's no change going to be happening, well, well, assuming the House concurs with that. But yeah, points well taken, Vice Mayor Roberto and Councilmember Thomas. I agree. Any other reports from council? Okay, moving right along to item 8A, please.
8A is a resolution reappointing Jeffrey Haygood and Rosalind Tillman as directors of the Sports Authority of the County of Knox and the City of Knoxville, Tennessee.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
8B is a resolution electing David Bakangle and to serve as a member of the Industrial Development Board of the City of Knoxville.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded to appoint David Bocanel to this board. Mr. Bocanel, I don't know if he's here. Okay, he's not, but I did want to, just my former Spanish teacher self wanted to get that pronunciation on the record right. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
8C is a resolution electing David
Bocango.
Bocanel and Brian Tapp to serve as members of the Industrial Development Board of the City of Knoxville and the Downtown Cinema Incorporated.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
8D is a resolution confirming the appointment of Courtney Bergmeyer and Kristen Farley to the Visit Knoxville Board of Directors.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
9A is an ordinance to amend the capital budget and operating budget, both as approved by ordinance number O-56-2022 for fiscal year 2022-2023, and to transfer surplus, excess, or unencumbered funds between various units and funds as reflected in the various funds and budgets of the City of Knoxville.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
9B is an ordinance to close Henry Childs Street between Dean Hill Drive and Anderson Drive, subject to two conditions, and authorizing the mayor to execute quitclaim deeds to the adjacent property owners, Central Baptist Church of Bearden, applicant to 2nd District.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
9C is an ordinance to close a portion of Anderson Drive between Henry Childs Street and the western terminus of Anderson Drive, subject to two conditions, and authorizing the mayor to execute quitclaim deeds to the adjacent property owners, Central Baptist Church of Bearden, applicant to 2nd District.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
9D is an ordinance to adopt the one-year plan dated 2023 as prepared by the Knox County Planning Commission for the City of Knoxville, all districts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
9E is an ordinance to change the base zoning of a portion of property located at 4614 Washington Pike from RN1 district to RN2 district, leaving all special purpose and overlay districts unchanged. Victor Jernigan, applicant, 4th district.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
9F is an ordinance to change the base zoning of property located at 4628 Washington Pike from RN1 district to RN4 district, leaving all special purpose and overlay districts unchanged. Victor Jernigan, applicant, 4th district.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
9G is an ordinance to change the base zoning of a portion of property located at 0 Dow Springs Boulevard from OP district to RN5 district, leaving all special purpose and overlay districts unchanged. Dow Springs Company, applicant, 3rd district.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
9H is an ordinance to change the base zoning of property located at 0 North Middlebrook Pike from AG district to IG district. Christos Christopoulos, applicant, 2nd district.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
9I is an ordinance to change the base zoning of property located at 5600 Western Avenue from RN1 district to INST district. Rivers Edge Christian Academy, applicant, 3rd district.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11A is a resolution respectfully requesting to adjust the timeline for the City Council's approval of the operating budget for the City of Knoxville.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, we have someone signed up to speak to this. Brady Watson. Mr. Watson, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to address council.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all. Brady Watson, Dowdy Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee. I wanted to speak in favor of this resolution by Councilmember Parker. I think it goes without saying that always public input is always good, and with the short timeline, relatively speaking, between the first ordinance passing and second, I think there's opportunity to allow more public input to drive what is ultimately the city's priorities for the next year. This is a several $100 million budget and impacts Knoxvillians every day in multiple ways. And so, again, I would encourage this resolution because it will allow the public to have more time to provide input on the document. I think it's important also to allow more public input because most people in Knoxville, I would argue, don't know this is happening right now. I think many people, average Knoxvillians, don't know this budget is being debated right now. And so even if it's an additional 2 weeks as this resolution would allow, I think that's valuable time for y'all as council members to talk to your constituents and make sure the priorities in this budget are actually the priorities that matter to them. I know there is, I believe, a charter stipulation that says the budget has to be finalized by June 15th, but of course, an additional 2 weeks would still allow for that, even considering amendments. So again, I would encourage you all to take time to engage with your constituents and ensure their priorities are addressed in this budget. Be open to amendments, pushback. It shouldn't be a given that we always pass a budget a few weeks after it's first proposed as ordinance at this body. And again, I just want to make sure that this budget is actually addresses the priorities of everyday Knoxvillians, not just folks who can come to a council meeting on a Tuesday night or have connections to make sure their pet or their favorite issue is addressed. So again, please support this resolution and allow for more input from Knoxville residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Council members, that concludes the people who signed up to speak on this item. Councilmember Ryder.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask Mr. Swanson and the mayor, So normally, the budget is going to go on the agenda for first reading, and it automatically includes the date for the second reading to be 2 weeks later. Is that correct? That's kind of
That's
an
correct.
automatic. So we have a couple of options where we get the budget at that time and we make an amendment to change that, or does this resolution infer, passing of this resolution, does that mean that you just automatically put 4 weeks on it when it goes on the budget, or on the agenda? Sorry.
This is really a resolution of intent of the council, I think, because you are required under our charter to, when it comes before you on the first occasion, to pass it on first reading. Then, either at that point, after you've passed it on first reading, absent council doing something else, then it would automatically come back in 2 weeks. Now, you could go ahead after you've passed it on first reading. If you want to move it to another date, you may then move to another date, and that vote would be honored. On the other hand, it could come back in 2 weeks, and you could decide you're not ready to vote on second reading at that point. Someone could move then to get it moved back from there. So there are a number of ways to accomplish this. This would simply be a resolution expressing an intent, sort of giving public notice. I would think in order to do it correctly, that after it's passed on first reading, you're going to have a motion after that, whether you do it at that meeting or at the next meeting, to actually accomplish the postponement. Because this does it in advance. We don't have a provision in our code to do that in advance, because it automatically comes on second reading 2 weeks subsequent to the initial passage.
Okay, so if this passes, we're still not changing the dates that are publicly noticed with that first.
Well, you're certainly giving notice to the public that that's what you intend to do, but I think in order to make sure that you've done it correctly, you need to do it after it's passed on first reading.
Okay. And then my second question was to the mayor. So that basically just puts a 4-week window in between first reading and second reading, if that's what council ends up passing and intends to do. I mean, we still end up in the window of time. Any feedback on
Yeah.
that?
Well, I mean, if that's what council wants, I mean, I have no objection to, to that. I think, it'd be good for you all to see the budget and make your decision based on, your time that you have to process it. You'll see it a week from tomorrow. You can pass this and indicate that you need that time before you see it, or you can wait and do the same thing in 2 weeks, or decide that you don't need an extra 2 weeks. I mean, I don't have strong feelings about it. I think I'm looking forward to sharing the budget. I think it's a good budget. I think it reflects the community's priorities, and I'm looking forward to hearing council's perspective.
Okay, but regardless, Mr. Swanson, we still have to vote at the time to change the dates and the timeline. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. This question for Mr. Swanson or Mr. Frost. Is there anything in the charter that prevents the budget from being introduced earlier?
There's a timeline in the charter, Mr. Smith, that talks about, I want to say it's something like odd dates. It's like between 105 days and 75 days before the start of the next fiscal year. The mayor's supposed to have the budget hearings. So I think you also have that time frame.
Right, and I realize, this is just a comment, I think there's a compressed timeline as well. It feels fast. We have at least the authority now to delay it for 2 more weeks to talk about it more, but there's nothing that prevents the mayor, as I understand it from Mr. Frost, from presenting her budget 2 weeks earlier than now. Obviously, with this year being the budget presentation next week, next year, there's nothing that prevents the mayor from presenting the budget 2 weeks earlier in in April. Am I wrong?
I mean, except for just the time it takes to put it together and have our legislative, the budget process is something that, we start the day after we adopt a budget. It's sort of ongoing throughout the year. So we try to get it done as in a timely manner, but also we need to know what our expected revenues are. So extra time on that front is helpful too. I mean, we could prepare a budget a year ahead, but we don't know what the circumstances are as far as, the economy and so forth. So, I mean, there are some labor and economic reasons that we do it the way we do it.
Yeah, I just think that there's wiggle room on the front end, even if a week earlier gives everybody more time to discuss this in public, in addition to the authority we have to postpone it for 2 weeks.
Vice Mayor Roberta.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate what my colleagues have said, and also Mr. Watson coming up and talking to us. And I understand where Councilmember Parker's coming from, as echoed by Councilmember Smith about having additional time to review things. You know, I went back and looked, and since 2017, basically the schedule we've got in front of us now gives us 20 days from when the budget's released to when we do second reading. That's pretty much in line with what we've seen since 2017. So we're not talking about a statistically different time frame. So there's not a shorter time frame now, which is what I wanted to make sure of. And I guess the thing I wanted to be clear is, even if we were to pass this resolution, the timeline wouldn't change. If I got that correctly from our law director, we would still have to make a motion after first reading to change it. This would not be accomplishing a change tonight. Is that correct?
I think that is correct, because until it's passed on first reading, it's not set for second reading. And so if you're going to move it from second reading, you need to do that between first reading and second reading,
Okay.
in my reading.
And I haven't seen the budget yet, so none of us have, so I don't know whether we need more time or not, but I'm always for talking about whether we need more time, making sure that everything is very transparent, and we're making sure the public has a chance to understand what's going on. And, just as a reminder, May 9th are our legislative budget hearings, so, the public is welcome to attend those. I'm not, because I understand the rationale for this, I don't know anything specific that would require us to do this tonight versus doing it after first reading.
Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mayor. This has been another attempt of mine to understand how we can adjust our budget calendar to address any concerns that have been brought to me by the public. And it became clear to me after speaking to several people that there wasn't a measure that I could bring forward that would achieve exactly what I would like to achieve tonight. But what this resolution does provide us is an opportunity to have the discussion, and hopefully you all will support the resolution, and that will provide some public notice to individuals who do want to engage in this budgeting process, that we do intend to postpone that second vote so that there is time after the May 9th hearings for us to hear from our constituents. That may result in an amendment being offered at the next meeting, but it also may result in wanting to put something on the agenda. And so just to have an option to put something on the agenda at the same time as the budget and tax ordinances would require us to postpone that vote so that we could meet that deadline for adding items to our meeting where we will have the second vote. So that's the reason for the public notice, but also so that we do have an option, if we want to take it, to put something on the agenda, the same agenda that would have the budget for second vote.
Thank you. Councilmember McKenzie?
Thank you, Mayor. What I will add is that it is a lot of information to digest and to go through. I think everyone on this is a working council, And so trying to get a lot of that in between work and everything else that we have going on. And also an opportunity for the public to make sure that they are adequately and sufficiently have had an opportunity to review it. So I do think that this is something that we should consider as a council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Fugit.
So just a point of clarification for me. So when the budget is presented to the mayor's State of the City luncheon next Wednesday, does the budget then go on our website and it is publicly available to all citizens? to
That's
begin
right. You all will
looking
get a
at?
hard copy, and it'll be posted on our website for everyone to look at as they wish.
So I do want the community to understand that it's available to you the same day it's available on next Wednesday. My next question is, so if we make this, if this were to pass and we defer, basically what we would be saying is that as of today, we would be saying we would not have a second vote on the budget until May 30th.
Well, my reading of the resolution is that you're respectfully requesting an adjustment to the timeline, and then that would not be really formalized until you made the official vote on the second, which you could change your mind, or you could continue doing that.
Right, but in effect, it would be, if we did that, the second reading would be May 30th, 15 days before the 16
That is
days.
correct. It
Correct.
would be May
Thank you.
30th. It would be 2 weeks.
17
for the
days.
First reading plus another 2 weeks.
Okay, thank
May
you.
30th.
So, okay, so it would have been more than a month since it was published publicly for the second. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions or discussion? Vice Mayor Roberto.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Parker, what I'm gathering from our conversation is that your expectation is not that we pass this resolution and it would have the effect of changing the date of the vote. What I get the sense of is that you're saying, in general, council would like more time from before second reading to be able to review the budget and share that with the public, not only this year, but in years in the future. Is that basically what we're talking about?
I think tonight we're talking about this year's vote, but it is my position that I would like for us to have more time in the future, and I'm still researching and trying to figure out what proposals I can bring forward that might achieve that. I'm still committed to proposing a charter review process that can include the budgeting process. But for today, I would like for my constituents to know that, I would like to plan a conversation with them after May 9th, coming out of our May 2nd meeting, having postponed this vote, and to have this, the intention of this body clarified tonight.
Okay. I think what I'm hearing from you is I think in line with what I was suggesting, that you're talking about this year, but it could extend to other years. And to the extent that you're saying, hey, council's making a statement that more time is needed to make sure the public is fully aware of what's going on with the budget and to make sure that council has plenty of time to review things, I can certainly agree with that. And so I'll vote for it. But what I do think is, we're still going to have to do something on first reading, and we'll just have to see how. I haven't seen the budget yet, so I can't really say what we're going to do then. But I'll support it in the sense that we're sending we're making a statement that, more time is needed, because I think always having enough time to properly vet everything is a good thing. So I'll vote for it.
Councilmember Ryder.
Yeah, just for statement, fact, and clarification, like, we're talking about the budget as if it's this condensed, short window period. And so I would like our finance director to comment. To me, the budget has always been a 12-month process. As soon as you guys are done and it's voted on, I mean, really, it starts all over again. Like, I was at a community meeting last night and they asked about something specific. I don't remember what it was. Like, could that happen and could that go in this year's budget? I think some engineering traffic stuff for a particular intersection where there've been some accidents. And I'm like, well, that's not going to make this year's budget because I'd have to go have a conversation with Director Claybo and hopefully maybe be in time for next year's budget because like you're already working down the list. So if our finance director could comment on, like, it's a 12-month process.
Yes, ma'am, it is Boyce Evans, CFO for the city. It is pretty much a 12-month process. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, very detailed work. I would say that the 5 months that are the most intense start, while everybody's got sugar plums dancing in their head in December, okay? We're kicking it on the budget, and it goes through, April and then down into May. So you got about 6 months of it really being hardcore, lots of work, lots of weekends, late hours, that type thing.
If I want to
The
have,
other 6, you're dealing more with amendments and stuff like that and getting some of the background put together. But no, it goes
so the
year-round.
December, is that when the directors start meeting with you about the wish list for what's going into the?
They're actually, we're doing in finance, our meetings, figuring things out, but the directors are putting in their capital requests. They're putting those together, racking and stacking them, prioritizing them, so that they can get them to us by the last day of December, which is when they're due.
Okay. So like if I wanted to say, Director Claybo, this is really important, this intersection is the most important thing ever in my district, and everybody's talking about it, I got to hit him up well before this coming December because you're cooking up your list that you're taking to him starting when? If you're turning in your capital improvement list to him by December.
Tom Claybo, I'm engineering director. Yeah, and that's an ongoing process, and I would encourage anybody that has issues that they want to address to bring those to me at any time. But we have to have our finalized list to finance by the end of December.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Evans, for explaining that. I just will say that, I appreciate Vice Mayor Roberto, saying that, it's not like I've shortened the time since I've become mayor. This is consistent with the way it's been done. That doesn't mean there's not sometimes occasions for considering changes. I will say that I anticipate that this budget will be less complicated than last year. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11B is a resolution authorizing the mayor to amend the contract with ACOM Technical Services Incorporated to provide design services for the Cherry Street Sinkhole Water Quality Improvements Project, increasing the contract amount by $22,284 for a new contract total of $70,114 and extending the date of completion to May 19, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11C is a resolution authorizing the mayor to amend the agreement with Edison Electric LLC for the as-needed maintenance and repair of the city's streetlights and high masts, increasing the annual contract amount by $170,000 for a new total annual amount not to exceed $1,550,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Councilmember Ryder.
Yeah. Director Claybo, I'd like to ask you a question. So this contract is just bumping up the amount to finish out the maintenance contract, and it says in our packets till June 2023. So is there another one coming?
Tom Claybo, engineering director. We've already approved the other contract.
Okay.
It takes effect.
This is just bumping up the end of the last one.
That's correct.
Okay, and that is because there's increased cost to it?
And those are ongoing, and it's really driven by storm events or what happens as far as maintenance. And we've seen a lot of events and a lot of maintenance has occurred, so this will get us through the end of the year.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11D is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a quitclaim deed to Sean Boleyn and Allison Hardy for one parcel of property located at 523 East Oklahoma Avenue, parcel ID number 081LC016, within the limits of the city of Knoxville pursuant to the Homemakers Program for a contract sales price of $110,500.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Council members, I just want to take a moment to thank all the many people who helped work on this house, from codes enforcement to the law department to, people, especially with our Housing and Neighbor Development Department, Kathy Ellis and team. This property has been vacant since 1978. Just been vacant since 1978. And it's not just been vacant, it's been falling apart. It's been subject to 2 demolition by neglect orders in 2017 and 2020. It's been an eyesore and really, a potential serious hazard. And I've been by there recently, and I just want to thank, again, our Housing Neighbor Development Department and others who have already worked to stabilize it, unveil it from its ivy and other vines that hit it. It's a hidden jewel that's now going to, thanks to this program, be restored by the people who are proposed to buy it under this. So I just want to thank everybody for their work. This is a grand old home that it will is going to be restored to its former glory, and it could have been just fallen apart. So thank you for everyone who worked on that, including Sean Boland and Allison Hardy, who are about to take it from this to the next stage. Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mayor. I have had concerns about this program that I've expressed, and I've started to do some research because I want to better understand the program, and I haven't finished that research. But I really wanted to encourage all members of council to pull, and Will Johnson just pulled this for me, so I'm sure he could share it with everyone if he'd like. But the history of the Homemakers Program, and that's what's really interesting. And one thing that struck me was a change made to the program where it was previously for prospective homeowners and nonprofits to develop housing. But the program was changed to allow for-profit developers. And that's one piece of the program I would like for us to revisit. If we are talking about a program that serves the housing and community development needs of our city, and ensuring, I would love also to review the program and see what the outputs have been over the last 40 years, but to ensure that we are creating affordable housing. I mean, even when you look at the historical documents, there's a article attached to the end of the document that talks about the affordable housing at the time and new innovative approaches that cities were taking, and this was being lifted up as this innovative approach. And I'm just worried that we've gotten away from that, and that we're actually doing some harm to our housing market when we could be restricting these programs to simply the development of affordable housing. So I do not plan to vote against this today. I did vote against the acquisition of the property, but I don't plan to vote against this today. But I encourage us, and I will, add my leadership to it, to review this program and make sure that it's meeting the goals, the priorities of our city today.
Thank you. Councilmember Roger.
Yeah, I don't know if Mr. DeBose or Ms. Ellis could clarify, homemakers my understanding is that homemakers has been where the property is acquisitioned and it goes through the court system, which clears the titles. So I guess, Mr. DeBose, you want to comment on that process, on that prospect? Because what happened historically was a property was in the state of demolition by neglect, and the city would come in and demolish it and create a lien against the property. And what would happen in the community to the neighbors surrounding the property in all neighborhoods across the city is you would have an empty lot with a hole in the ground that used to be the foundation, and the house buried in that hole, and a $10,000 lien. So you got a lot with a $10,000 lien, and owners that are no longer, absent. They're gone. They don't, in many cases, don't exist. In fact, we have one, Miss Ellis, now on 4th Avenue, right near the Greenway. So the owners and their heirs are deceased. The house caught fire. The house is demoed, backfilled into the hole. Much of it's taken away. The hole is filled with some dirt to smooth it out. Some grass seed is just thrown out. And so what we, the community, have, my neighborhood and your neighborhood, are empty lots with liens against them and no owners that the city comes in and mows and maintains. And so the homemakers program takes that and takes it to the court system and clears it and gets it ready for resale. Because otherwise, we just have liabilities and burdens on the community. And then what happens when you have this conversation about who gets to purchase the property, like this particular house, no one wanted to purchase it. It had to go back and get, Miss Ellis, it had an extension, correct? This particular property, you didn't get adequate applications the first go round, so it went back out.
Ms. Ellis, if you could come to the podium and.
Because we're not talking about desirable properties. These are not normal things that people would develop. It's a rare bird that will develop some of these properties, correct?
Correct. Kathy Ellis with the Housing and Neighborhood Development Department. This particular property, when we initially went to circuit court for the acquisition of it, we deposited, which is Tennessee state law, the greater of the current fair market value or the property assessor's value. So we always err on the higher side for the owner. We put that money in court. And then once we have possession, we stabilize it, make sure that the title is clean, all the taxes are paid, and then we list it for sale. At that time, the market was really booming, and the appraisal came back, and this is another Tennessee state law, a municipality in the state of Tennessee, if you list that property for sale, you have to list it for the current fair market value. And that appraisal came back at $194,000. Much of that was just the land. So I had to
So the state law had you do that. That's important.
That is state law. And then after 3 months, I believe it is, you can go back and request a new appraisal. And we did that. And the appraiser looked at what it was going to cost to rehab that particular house. And once he calculated that, it came down to $100,000. So there's not anyone, I don't think, that's going to be in a moderate income category that would be able to afford the purchase of a home with the structure for $100,000 and then put $400,000 in it for the rehab. But the Homemakers program as a whole is a wonderful program. It's 36 years old, and the initial program itself was just in Mechanicsville. It's called Project Proud. and then it was changed many years later, and several things came from that, and one of them was to allow other people, such as investors, in order to buy it, and to go outside of just Mechanicsville.
So real quick, before we run out of time, you didn't have a lot of people making application to renovate this property?
No. And
Okay,
then we
because it's a
got this-
tall mountain to climb. It's not an easy, normal rehab that many developers were seeking.
Oh, no.
So this is not a for-profit avenue. And
No, the Homemakers
anyway, I think we
program-
can talk about homemakers at length.
Thank you. Councilmember Thomas.
Yes, I don't see the Homemakers program as being a great boost to affordable housing. I mean, there's not much of it done in the city proportionally. But on the other hand, it certainly doesn't hurt affordable housing, and it does make some houses somewhat more affordable. But what I do see the value is healthy neighborhoods and taking blighted property, in this instance, since the 70s. I know instances in my neighborhood, in my district, where they have these houses that are blighted, and it's a tremendous amount of frustration for neighbors. They see these houses that for years and years have not been taken care of. And so the value that I see in the homeowners program is not so much a big boost in affordable housing, although it does help some, but it's a boost to healthy neighborhoods and being able to take a blighted house, which can really diminish a whole block, really, if there's one house. And it's, run down for all the descriptions that we've heard. People live in them, and sometimes off and on. So anyway, I do support the Homemaker program, and I think this particular one will be a really good one to add to our housing stock. So.
A key component of the Homemakers program is to remediate the blight in the community.
Thank you. Councilmember Parker.
I just wanted to clarify. I feel like there's two different conversations going on, but the details that were just mentioned really are under the blighted property ordinance. So we have a blighted property ordinance that allows us to make these acquisitions, clear the title, all of that would be in place. What I'm talking about are the changes that have been made over the years to the Homemakers program. Early on in the program, it was for prospective homeowners or nonprofits developing housing for low-income families. That was early on in the program. And then it was changed, and it was in the Mechanicsville area. Then it was changed to be a citywide program, and to look into more community development opportunities, not just residential uses. And I haven't done the full research, so I might just still be in the 90s and haven't gotten to the 2020 changes. So all I'm recommending is that, this is something that we can adjust and consider if there's more of a need for housing for low-income families now than there was 20 years ago in Knoxville, which I actually think I can easily say that might need to be a shift in the program. But it doesn't change the blighted properties ordinance or the ability for us to clear titles. It would just allow us to look at the program and see if there are any changes needed to be made to adjust to what we need today. So I just wanted to clarify. I'm not talking about the blighted properties ordinance.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, if we can take this program and make it even more affordable, because, to a lot of people, it's really not affordable, but it's at least, being fair, it's more affordable than it would have otherwise been. So I wouldn't be opposed to, reviewing the Homemaker program to see if we could actually make it more affordable. So there we are.
Well, I'll just say, as someone who's lived in a neighborhood with blighted property, I mean, the big challenge is that fixing blighted properties is very expensive. There's a lot of remediation. You have to buy the cost of the land. I mean, if it were easy, we would be doing it. And also, I just want to say, in two more agenda items, we'll talk about all the investments we are making in affordable housing in a more direct way. This is like you said, it's about healthy neighborhoods. It has, some measures of affordability, but blighted property can create safety issues, not just like kids running into a house that has a hole in it, but it can be a place where people go in and light fires. It's just has a sense of a neighborhood that's been abandoned and isn't being taken care of, and that's not healthy. So I think the healthy and blight remediation is a big part of it, and the affordability is a harder element to consider.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's, I think the primary benefit of the Homemakers program is actually that. We need to work harder in other ways to solve the affordability issue, and we are. But, so, yeah, I think this is a good discussion. I think there's a lot of thoughts we have in common.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11E is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a subgrantee agreement with the Knox County Community Action Committee to provide an amount not to exceed $105,000 in U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development CARES Act Supplemental Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Funds for public services as part of the city's response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm supportive of this resolution and supportive of every agency in our community that helps support and provide services for those experiencing homelessness. I just want to kind of raise an issue that we know exists, and I see from time to time. I volunteer with a lot of these organizations, and from time to time, I end up helping individuals find housing, and it's quite challenging for me to navigate. And I think this is not about CAC. This is about generally every service in our community, every agency. I feel like does a great job in their remit and what they're programmed to do, but we are absolutely below par on interagency communication. I tried to help a woman find housing over the course of 2 days last week, and in the 11th hour of helping her after she'd spent a month in treatment, I got involved and started making every call I could make and everybody that's in my phone, and weren't successful because the clock ran out and she didn't fit in a silo to help. And so I raised this because I came to find out that 5 days earlier, a call was made to multiple agencies to help, and there was no communication between those agencies. And so while I called a bunch of people, they started communicating with one another. And again, it's not a knock on these agencies, just our interagency breakdowns are too many. And it's not one single person's fault, it's a community-wide issue. And having walked through this a number of times, particularly over the past few months, we lack that glue. We all know homelessness doesn't fit into any silo or fit some recipe that is repeatable or scalable. And there are plenty of agencies in this town that provide permanent supportive housing, that do outreach work. We just have got to get better at sticking with someone that is not going to fit into a silo. And so I just raised that. It's an ambiguous comment, but there are names associated with the experience of it. And so I just want to encourage all of the agencies that do this hard, worthy work to just do better at breaking down silos. So I'll support this. I'll always support these organizations, but it's just an ask of us all to take down those barriers. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember McKenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Smith, thank you for sharing that experience and how frustrating that was with lack of coordination. And so let's just imagine that we're that person who's in crisis who's looking, has to have some, doesn't have anywhere to live and nowhere to stay. You know, where do they go? What, you know, who do they talk to? And so this happens every day, and unfortunately, we have a lack of housing. We have a lack of housing. And also, we have a lack of private landlords who are willing to accept vouchers, you know, with KCDC. And so I know that there are some incentives that they have out there now. But if we know people who are landlords and have property and they don't accept vouchers, if we can maybe have a conversation with them and get them connected with KCDC, because there are a lot of families, and per KCDC, as of Saturday, there were 35 families that were sleeping in their homes that they were aware of, in their cars that they were aware of. So, I mean, this is a serious crisis that we have going on here with people, and also with teenagers when they're turning 18 and they're getting put out of their homes. So, thank you.
Well, just a point of information, I don't know, I'm sure council members are aware, but just last week, we cut the ribbon on the Ammons at Asheville Highway, which is 80 new units of housing where they do accept vouchers. And the city and we put in, I believe, $2 million to help the financing of that project. It was, we did the groundbreaking in February of '22, and then the ribbon cutting in April of '23. So, you know, we are making progress, and I know there's a lot more to be done. I hear from people every day about how hard it is to find housing, but I do think it's important to celebrate the successes and progress that we have made, and we just need to keep doing it. Councilmember McKenzie.
Yeah, and Mayor, let me also add, after that groundbreaking, and I did do a live just to make sure that people were aware of it, I probably had about 40 or 50 people call me and say, hey, I'm going to go down there and apply. And as you said, that's just 80 units.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the needs are great, and that's why, you know, I'm glad to see that we have something coming up on the agenda that addresses that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith?
Yeah, I think you raised a good point, and I want to applaud this administration. When you look at, I mean, Mr. Griffith has introduced me to Houston and a lot of things other cities have done. And when you look at the components of trying to solve this, improve it, fight it, however you want to look at it, we have a lot of the pieces. Most of the pieces that these other cities have that are being elevated and praised, the glue between them is just where I see folks fall through. We've got the pieces, and nobody's done more, I think, in any administration than yourself to invest in the pieces significantly. So I do applaud this administration for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Before we go on to the next agenda item, I just want to recognize former Councilmember George Wallace is in the house. Welcome back. Appreciate, as we have our council meetings and other meetings in this room, we want to just say thank you for your 8 years of service to the city on this exact council. So glad to see you. Mr. Johnson.
11F is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to award an amount not to exceed $900,000 from the Affordable Rental Development Program to Callahan Flats LP for the development of 30 affordable rental housing units to be located at 1511 Callahan Drive.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Council members, just a little context. The city, have responded to the housing needs in our community in the last few years by partnering with private and nonprofit developers to add nearly 1,500 units of affordable housing. Callahan Flats will add another 88 units of affordable housing, including 30 units of permanent supportive housing. And this is the 6th permanent supportive housing development in the city, including Manvilla Manor, Caswell Manor, Dogan Gaither Flats, Washington Oaks, and Flanagan Landing. So I'm really grateful for this council's support of that. And again, we always have more to do, and including the coordination, but we are making progress, and these items tonight will continue that momentum. Councilmember Singh.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this isn't a timely after our conversation just now, right? I would love to hear from Chris Martin with Knoxville Leadership Foundation, just if you don't mind speaking to this issue, telling us about it, telling where it is in progress?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Chris Martin with the Knoxville Leadership Foundation, Mechanicsville resident, 1433 Exeter Avenue. Yeah, so it's, we started this journey with this project in the summer of '21, and so we are now approaching the closing of all the financing and all the things to actually see this become a reality. The affordable housing need is, you don't have to look very far for the data and the information to know that that's, we need that desperately in our city. This project does have 58 units of a permanent supportive housing, just to correct that reading, Mayor, just it's
Okay, my
58,
apologies.
and then
58.
30 affordable 2 and 3 bedrooms. So it is the 58 units will be in one facility, one building. There are 3 buildings on the property. It'll be operated, we operate and manage in Flanagan Landing, so it'll be operated the exact same way. We've had, took a number of years. Flanagan is 12 years old. It was difficult to get done, but we've learned how to operate that. It's become a great success, and we found people finding a really home and restoration there at Flanagan. So that'll be another, this will be another 58 units that we'll be able to continue to do that good work and from what we've learned how to do well. So it's affordable housing's hard, especially as a nonprofit developer. And so we're very grateful for your help and support in this project. And I'll be glad to answer some questions. I don't want to ramble. I can ramble. Some people know that. So,
Ms. Singh, did you have any?
No, I just wanted to hear about it and have everyone else hear about it also. Thank you for your hard work on it.
thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Parker.
I have I don't know if it's a question or a plea or what it is at this point. But I was excited to see this project come before us. We got a heads up, I think we got a heads up about it, unless we have another 88-unit permanent supportive housing. I doubt it. I think it's this project that we got a heads up on last week. And I absolutely wanted to see a new permanent supportive housing project move forward after having received so much federal money over this last period. So I'm happy about that. The one plea I have has to do with the design and wanting you all to put a little bit more in. I think as a city, we have to make a commitment to trauma-informed design when it comes to permanent supportive housing units, and I know it's much more expensive. But that's my plea, is anything that you can do to upgrade the design, add trees to the property, you know, make this a space, especially because it's quite a ways away from everything else. It's not going to be a walkable neighborhood. There is employment nearby, but I'm not, you know, it's somewhat tricky to access without a car. So there are some, you know, impediments, some downfalls for this property, but there's some possibilities, there's some opportunity. But I think it's going to need a little bit more investment to add something, you know, add to it so that this can actually be a space that helps individuals who might be transitioning from street life to now living, you know, in housing, to have, you know, a space that's healing for them. So that's my one plea.
Yep. Well, one of the things that we've learned at Flanagan is that the secret sauce to the work with this particular population is community. Everything that our organization, KLF, does is a very relational approach to everything we do. So people that we work with are engaged in relationships with our staff and other volunteers and that kind of thing. And so we take a lot of work and spend a lot of time trying to engage the community at Flanagan and at Callahan too, to begin to restore them into a healthy kind of community. And that takes time. A number of the folks that come to us have been in difficult situations and been on the street for quite a while. And they're there because there's issues. And so permanent supportive is the supportive piece of that, is what we add into that is case management. It's not a treatment center. It's not a some kind of a long, a 6-month or whatever treatment center. It's a home. It's a place that they can live forever. And we have people that are living at Flanagan. We have several people that have lived at Flanagan since we opened 12 years ago. And so, and we actually have people that we have to throw eviction parties because they get to a place where they're whole and healed and they're ready to move out into the community and assimilate back into those neighborhoods. So we get that a lot. And so we understand that whole process. From a design standpoint, we have spent quite a bit of time with our architects, our staff at Flanagan, some others in town that are familiar with the permanent supportive housing, and the type of facility that we need that gives the best opportunity for that type of restoration. So we've got those components built into especially the first building on the site that will be the permanent supportive housing facility. And so that's kind of just some comments back to you. It's something we take very seriously about how do we take a person from where they are and begin to help them move to a place of restoration, healing, and ultimately to become a healthy community member.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion
Thank you.
carries.
Thank you.
11G is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to award an amount not to exceed $2,900,000 from the Home American Rescue Plan Program to Callahan Flats LP for the development of 58 affordable housing units to be located at 1511 Callahan Drive.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
11H is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to apply for, and if awarded, accept a climate and pollution reduction grant from the United States Environmental Protection Agency in the amount of $1 million with no local match required to develop a region-wide plan for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and other harmful air pollutants.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
12A is an ordinance to amend the Knoxville City Code, Chapter 2, Article 1, to revise the oath of office for the commissioners of the Metropolitan Knoxville Airport Authority.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Councilmember Parker.
Just wanted some clarification around this change and the need for it.
Okay, thank you. Mark Mamontoff and Patrick Wilson are here. If you could come to the podium.
Good evening. I'm Patrick Wilson. I'm the president for the Metropolitan Knoxville Airport Authority.
Wonderful.
And Mark, if you could, Mr. Mamontoff.
Mark Mamontoff, I'm their outside general counsel.
Okay. The general answer is that the existing oath is very long and complicated and unnecessarily so. But if you guys could elaborate a little bit for council and Ms. Parker's question, please.
Certainly. A little bit of a potential conflict between the, what could be perceived as a conflict between the State Airport Authority Act, which requires the airport authority to have 2 pilots on our 9-member Board of Commissioners. And then, no surprise that the airport is probably the greatest concentration of pilots. So we have about 400 or more pilots who have their aircraft based at either McGee-Tyson Airport or Downtown Island Airport. And it could be interpreted that their contract for leasing and storage of those aircraft, whether it be directly with the airport authority or through a third-party service provider we have, could be in conflict with the city ordinance oath of office that indicates that a airport commissioner would not have a contract with the airport authority. So this clarifies that.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
12B is an ordinance to change the base zoning of property located at 7700 Piner Drive from RN1 District to RN2 District. T. Dean LaRue, applicant, 2nd District.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Vice Mayor Roberto.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank council for the 2-week delay so that we could get in touch with Mr. LaRue and the neighborhood folks that had some concerns. Mr. LaRue met with them and spoke with me at length, and so I'm very comfortable with this project, and it's going to be helpful in the sense of looking at some potential missing middle housing, and so just want to thank Mr. LaRue for spearheading this project and being so open to discussing it with myself and with the neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further lights on, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Council members, we have 3 people signed up to speak at public forum. The first is Calvin Dibrell. If you could please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to address council.
Name is Calvin DeBrell, 5201 Holston Drive. Phone number 865-323-6824. Chief Noel, you new to the neighborhood, welcome. But you are police chief number 4 dealing with my circumstances. I've had conversation with Phil Keith, David Roush, who's now the TBI director, Chief Thomas, now you. We're going back to 2005 when Assistant District Attorney Murray Ward put me on a hot seat for a rape. And what that did was started a whole chain of events that's still going on today. Now, I've had to reach out to the Department of Justice as far as filing a complaint with United States Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark, the head of Civil Rights Division, and I've had to go in and out of these courtrooms over here, getting my rights trampled on, to where now we're over here across the street in the federal courthouse. That was filed June 7th last year, so we on the docket. So I don't want them to ambush you and you don't know what's going on, okay? Now, I'm gonna read you this one line that I put toward the people at DOJ. You got Klan members in your department that you inherited. Officers Baldwin, Lane, White, Whitehead, Jones, Turner, and Pickens. All these officers have threatened my life with firearms. But here I am still fighting back and forth to court. Now, I'm here to let this be known. My only issue now is getting everybody in this courtroom over here going through the discovery process. They've done everything they can do to me. Over and over again, I've been begging and pleading with Judge Green, Judge Sword, Judge Sanchez, Judge Stansberry, and everybody just clam up, don't want to talk about it, and I'm the one going through the mud. Very serious situation with a woman claims that you raped her, and TBI Director Roush did the rape kit. I haven't laid a hand on her. But that didn't stop everybody from coming at me. I'm tired. 59 years old. Not in the mood for nobody else pulling any more weapons on me. Okay? That's it.
Thank you. Next person signed up to speak at public forum is Dan Anderson. Mr. Anderson? Is Mr. Anderson present? Okay, next person to sign up to speak is Constance Every. Ms. Every?
Yes, Constance Every, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37914. Knoxville, y'all psychotic. I really have reached that conclusion. Y'all psychotic here. And I say that because of the overzealous performance. You know, Gloria is part of the Tennessee Three. We all know what happened on the state legislature. White supremacy and racism in its finest form throws out the two black men who speak up on the gun violence and the mass murder that happened in Nashville. But my concern is when I watch Knoxville perform. Because we done had protests and issues here too. And people like India Kincannon, who can stand tall with Gloria, sure has not stood tall with the protesters like Anthony Thompson Jr. and his family's call for justice. You sure haven't stood tall with the protesters for Lisa Edwards and her call for justice. Matter of fact, you have not stood tall really in any issue when it comes to the local community and its needs here. But you can stand tall with Gloria. Does Gloria know that you're actually participating in a litigation with the Anthony Thompson Jr. 7 protesters where you've already committed perjury and claimed you didn't know why we were protesting at the city council meeting like Anthony Thompson Jr. just didn't happen? But more importantly, where was the stand tall moment there, India? Oh, it didn't exist. Seema ran out the room, but Seema was on the hill taking pictures with Justin Jones, but she don't support strong black voices right here in Knoxville. So I get frustrated and I get annoyed. And then I realize the psychoticness of these leaders in Knoxville who can perform in a heartbeat, but when it's time to do the real work, the real call for justice and accountability, we can't get that. But I get it. It's election season. I understand that. But then we get hit with crazy things like this baseball stadium agreement that is nothing but a bunch of babble in black and white language. I couldn't even read past section 3 without seeing red because the fact that they try to articulate subliminally the authority piece of it, who's between Avanex and Randy Boyd, basically. I cannot understand how the executive branch of this city, and Kane on the county side, because he's executive branch over there, will relinquish all oversight and say so, but still spend taxpayers' dollars. Did you think that removed accountability for you, India? Because at the end of the day, you are the executive branch of authority, and you're still accountable for those tax dollars, whether you put Avanet's name on it or not. And so these are the things that I become concerned with when I watch you all try to brag about affordable housing, but the reality is that we know by the data. See, the data is what you can't argue with, India. You can put up 88 building complexes or whatever you want, but the data still says you're 60% of your homelessness and affordability rate. Our rent has still raised over $1,000 in just the last year. And as far as the organizations, Tommy, the data says that they have failed because it's been 10 years, 15 years, 20 years that the city has had these partnerships. And these numbers have not went down, they have went up. So we're past the glue part, sir. We need to revisualize and revamp how we're doing things. It's not going to continue to do the same thing over and over and over and over again. That's called insanity, Tommy Smith, in case you didn't know that. Let me break it down real quick. And still, more importantly, what is the status of Lisa Edwards, Paul Noel? The city is tired of your photo ops and propaganda. We want solution, more importantly, resolution, and most importantly, termination of the officers involved in the death of Lisa Edwards. This is not rocket science. This is not complex. This is simple manner of humanity and moral standard of right versus wrong. And the sad part is, Knoxville, it's going to take me running for office to announce every issue that we're dealing with to get some real conversation going about what we need to do different. India, please do not duck and dodge debate. People don't even believe you're going to show up. They think you're that scared of me. They believe that you're so scared of me you won't even show up to a single debate. But I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I tell people, no, India's going to show up for at least one. She's got to. Minimum is at least one. And please believe, I look forward to it than anybody else on the scene. Again, Constance Every, Knoxville, Tennessee, 2023 mayor of this city. Because this is like taking candy from a baby. I yield my time.
Council members, that concludes public forum. Without objection, this meeting is adjourned.